We now have our first look at part 2 of Dune, and if this weren't already my most anticipated film of the year, it certainly would be after that trailer. The trailer opens with Chani and Paul interacting with each other in a more friendly manner that we didn't get in the first film, as Paul explains how, on his homeworld of Caladan, water was as abundant as sand is on Arrakis, which is an image that Chani finds impossible to comprehend. And I loved how natural the chemistry felt between these two characters, and look forward to seeing how that evolves throughout the film. We also get to see Paul's first ride atop a sandworm, and honestly, the way the music just swells as soon as we see Paul atop the worm, it was just magnificent. Hans Zimmer has taken his Oscar-winning score for the first film, and has somehow found a way to make it even more epic, to accurately capture the scale of the conflict that will be occurring in this second film. And I'm genuinely excited to see what else this score has in store for us. But of course, we already knew all these things would be amazing based off of the first film. We already saw the performances for Paul, Jessica, Chani, and Stilgar in the first film, which I felt did an amazing job at capturing their characters, so I had no concerns for them going into this movie. What I really wanted to see from this trailer were the new characters being introduced for this second part, and we do get to see Princess Irulan and Fade. Now, based on what we saw in this trailer, I feel like Princess Irulan's character is going to be expanded upon from what was originally in the books. In the book, she doesn't really have much of a character and is only really present for the final few chapters. Instead, she acts more as a historian, with each chapter starting out with a short anecdote of her explaining the history of this world, and giving more context to events that Paul Atreides wouldn't necessarily have at that moment, so that the reader can get a better overall view of why everything is happening the way it is, such as Irulan giving insight into the Padishah Emperor's thought process in eliminating Leto Atreides to begin with, and why he would side with House Harkonnen. However, that isn't really something you could accomplish in a film, so I feel like it's only natural for them to expand Irulan's role in a different direction, and I'm really interested to see which direction this character ends up going in. Now, as for Fade, he is perhaps the one aspect of this trailer that I'm not too impressed with. In fact, my first reaction to seeing him was that he looked like an angsty teenage Voldemort who still had a nose. Though I feel like that's not really an accurate comparison to make. And as I thought over it more, I realized that Fade really just looks like a shorter, scrawnier version of the engineers from Prometheus. And now I can't really get that image out of my head. The design alone has left Fade feeling less like the cruel and cunning Harkonnen leader that he's meant to be, and instead to me looks more like just some generic goon. I mean, even in that short arena clip that we see, he is nearly indistinguishable from the other Harkonnen that he's fighting, aside from the fact that he's the one wearing a shirt, which really doesn't bode well for the character who is supposed to be your main foil to the protagonist. So for me personally, this design for Fade really doesn't work, and leaves a lot on the shoulders of the actor to bring this character to life and portray that cruel intelligence that Fade has. Though I feel like that will already be an uphill battle based on this rather disappointing design. But other than that, I absolutely loved everything in this trailer, and cannot wait for the film to come out in November. This just leaves Aaliyah and the Emperor as the only major characters we have yet to see, and honestly, I don't think we're going to see either of these characters in the promotional material leading up to the film, as adapting Aaliyah is likely the biggest challenge this adaptation will face. And you'll know what I mean if you've ever seen the 1984 movie or just read the book. Now, as for the Padishah Emperor played by Christopher Walken, I really hope that this is a character they don't show off in any of the trailers leading up to the release of this film, as I feel like that will only serve to heighten the mystery surrounding the Emperor, since in the books he is never seen in person outside of those he trusts most. And so it doesn't really feel right to show off this character in trailers, so hopefully they manage to keep him a secret until the movie is finally out. And that about wraps up my thoughts on this first trailer for Dune Part 2. Other than the design of Fade, I feel like everything else is a phenomenal adaptation of the source material that we've seen so far, and cannot wait until November when this film finally releases. But are you as excited for this movie as I am? Let me know in the comments, and until next time, thanks for watching.